Everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the vintage Lawn Boy engine seal replacement. So in this video, we're going to install the new bearing that I ordered, that I mentioned in the last video, and we're going to put in the new seals, put it back together, take it outside, fire it up, and see how she runs. So without further ado, let's get right into this thing because I've been dying to work on it. So let's go. Okay, so sorry if you can hear the fan in the background, it's just kind of hot in here. So I've already slid in the new bearing. It goes in here. And the one thing I have to make sure of is that these little dimples here, they're in the grooves over here, because if they're not, if they're up like this case, this race here can actually smash down on this and wreck the bearing. So I'm going to make sure they're both tucked in the little holes right there. And next we're going to put this on top of here, and so we have to line up the little dot here to the little pin on this side right here. And there's already a little layer of RTV from the last video, so now we're just going to slip this on here. Hope she fits, and that's looking perfect to me. So we're going to get the bolts in and snug them down. Oh, and I wanted to mention, when I put the new bearing in, I put a little bit of this light oil inside just to make sure that it's nice and lubed up. And one thing I noticed is that the I already installed it. So anyway, one thing I noticed is that on the inside of the new one, the part that holds all of the, so on the new one, I noticed the part that holds all the little rollers, it's plastic. Like, what the heck? And this thing was $45. It's kind of, I don't know about that. And the old one was all metal, because, you know, all metal is way better, obviously. So that was a little bit disappointing, but I mean, oh well. At the end of the day, we're still going to have an awesome mower. So anyway, let's get back to installing the bolts. And if I have a bolt with a little bit of corrosion, I'm going to put a little dab of the oil on here just to protect it. And I might do that for all the bolts just because I want to ensure that the threads are all clean. So I guess I'll do that. I'll just take these out. I mean, you can use Loctite. You probably should use Loctite, but I don't really have any. So I'm just going to put a dab of oil on here just to make sure they go in really clean. And yeah, and we'll snug them down really good. So like that, and you don't need a lot because this is pretty thin stuff. Okay, so now with my ratchet and 1/2-inch socket, I'm going to tighten up the bolts in a crisscross pattern, and I'm going to go a little bit at a time on each one because I don't want to warp the case. And I don't have the exact torque spec, so just use common sense and get them, you know, pretty snug. Alright guys, so here's the reason for the whole video, and here we go. So we're going to install the new seal. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of oil on the inside of here with my finger, and I'm going to add some on the inside of the groove as well. So I'll do this over a rag on the workbench. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a little bit on my finger like that, and then just wipe this on the inside of this just to get it nice and oiled up. And I might even put a little bit on the crankshaft as well when the time comes, and put a little bit inside of here too just to keep it nice and clean. There we go. Now let's go over to the engine and install it. So I'm going to wipe it a bit on my finger just to make sure it slides on there relatively easily. And you want the groove side to go in, so push it on like this. There we go. And now I'm going to get a couple of screwdrivers, and yes, I know. Okay, disclaimer, I know this is the incorrect way to install a seal, so please don't nail me in the comments. I just didn't want to go to Lowe's and buy a piece of pipe to install this because, let's be honest, I'm probably never going to do these again. So, yeah. So if you're going to do this, like I'm doing it, be careful. And just beware that this is not the correct way by any means to install a seal, but it can be done. Okay, so I've decided on popsicle sticks because they're a little bit of a softer edge. And what I'm going to do is just push it in on each side like this. I'm going to push that in there really good. Because, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to push this all in here, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's fully seated. Okay, so here's the seal on the bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing to the top, and then we're going to install more parts. And I did find this little metal collar that I slipped over here to kind of help me get it in there. So, there you go. Oh, and I figured out this thing also makes a pretty good seal driver as well. Okay, the next thing we're going to install is going to be this kind of fan shroud thing that also has the pull start. So I'm going to set this on here how it's supposed to go. The pull start goes in its little hole down here, and then this thing just kind of sits on top takes a little bit of finagling to get it on there, but once you get it on, it's pretty good. And then I'm going to move it upwards because it's hitting the vise a little bit. So, yeah. I'm going to pull this out and we'll set it on the workbench and work on it here. So this has to go over here to this little hole. And yeah, I'm going to line up all the holes and we're going to tighten up all the bolts like there, and there's a bunch more. And these bolts are a 7/16. And don't tighten them too much because you do not want to crack this plastic because I'm pretty sure you can't find a new one. And if you're curious, the pull starter goes like this, so the little L-shaped thing sticks out towards that bolt. And now we have to tighten up the little Allen screw on the bottom, so I'm going to use this little socket thing I got here and make sure this is pushed all the way in there, and just go in here and tighten it up. I'm going to use a ratchet here to help me out. And there we go. Don't do this one too much because it's only going into aluminum, as are all of these, so only do them until they're snug. Don't over tighten them, and then make sure that this thing works when you put it in there. So give it a few pulls, and yeah, she feels pretty good. Now we're going to pop on the flywheel and then see what other parts we have to put on this thing to get it going. So the flywheel, I'm taking off the washer just to make sure I don't lose it. So see here, there's a little groove here in the flywheel, and there's a key on the crankshaft. Sorry, there's a key on the crankshaft. So make sure you align these, and you can kind of feel it when it goes together like that. There we go. Now it goes the washer, and I'm going to use an impact to tighten this because I can't get it tight enough by hand. And this size is a 5/8, so hold it with your hand like this, then go like this, and that's good enough. Don't strip that out because you'll be really upset if you do that. Trust me, I've done it before, and I wasn't on the video. Anyway, I was working on I was working on a lawnmower, and I undid the bolt with an impact. Then I had to get the flywheel off, so I hit it with the bolt with a hammer, or the nut with a hammer. Then anyway, it stripped it out, so I had to re-tap the nut in the crankshaft. Just saying, you don't want to do this, so be gentle with the impact and don't give her too many beans, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, next we're going to install the carburetor. So we need the carburetor, and then we need our gasket that just goes on here like this, but we're gonna have to put the bolts in the carburetor first. Or this is what I like to do. I like to put the bolts in and then hold them in with my fingers, and then get the gasket on the bolts, and then take the whole assembly and push this on the engine to make sure you stick up this little dimple or this little thing through the hole here, because this is an air vane style governor, which is how the engine controls its speed. And then you need a Phillips screwdriver to tighten up the two bolts here, and do them pretty evenly because this is a plastic carburetor and they're really expensive to get a new one. Trust me, I looked on the internet. So there we go. And then you can make sure that your little slide thing here works. This one does, thankfully. So that's cool. Okay, next thing we're going to install is the air filter in the cover. So the air filter is foam, it just shoves in there, and the cover is like this thing. So you gotta slide this groove into here, and then make sure that this little throttle control thing goes above this so that you can still adjust it. And then it clips in like this, and this metal thing just goes on like that, and there you go. And next, make sure this still works. So it does. So that's a very good sign. Now I'm going to sharpen the blade off camera, and then we're going to install the engine onto the deck. Then we're going to install the engine onto the deck, and then install the blade, muffler, and then the top shroud. Alright everybody, so we're putting on the engine now, and I've gotten the bolts sort of loosened in there. Now we're going to finish them up with a ratchet. So, by the way, the two long ones go here, and the two short ones go there. And it's a size 1/2 inch. So, again, get them snug. And then after I do that, we're going to install the muffler and then the blade. Okay everyone, so I've installed the muffler. Now we're going to install the blade. And here's our adapter. And most people say on a Lawn Boy 2-stroke that you're supposed to install the blade 90 degrees to the spark plug. So in our case, in my case, spark plug is right here, which means the blade's gonna have to go about like that. So I'm gonna line it up in the adapter first, like this, and then place it on about 90 degrees, just to kind of line it up. And then we're gonna screw bolt in. Push on the adapter first. So that's like 90 degrees right there. Now this should go on there. Maybe. There we go. I'm gonna tighten this up really good. And then after that, we're going to put on the top engine shroud and then install the switch and then start it up. Take off the extension. There we go. That's nice and tight. Now I'm going to flip the lawnmower back over and we're going to install the top cover. Okay, so for the cover, we have to install the switch back in because to get the cover off, I had to remove the switch. So to do this, hold it like that, get this switch in here, line up the two posts and the holes together, and then get the 2 slot screws, and one goes on this side and one goes on the other side over here. And I also resoldered on the wires because the old ones were just pretty junky and the insulation was garbage. So yeah, I'm going to tighten these up and then we're going to install the fuel lines on there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is install the fuel line here and the primer line there. So twist this over like this, and then the fuel line should just slip over the little plastic fitting. Be careful not to snap it because you probably know why. There, and then this goes over here on this little post. It's clear. And be careful not to snap it either because it's hard to find a new one. And there you go. And finally, you have to feed the little pull handle through the cover. There we go. Make sure it pulls it over. And it's got compression. And as always, when you're working on a Lawn Boy, make sure the spark plug is disconnected always because there's no safety features on this thing and you don't know if it can start up. So the last step is going to be installing all these screws. So we're going to put, there's 5 of them. So I'll just do them all with you. 1, 2, 3, 4th one, and here is the last one, which goes down here. And boom, there we go. The seal replacement is complete. Now what we have to do is put some gas in it and fire it up. So yeah. Guys, so now we're at the exciting part of the video where we're gonna see if this thing runs. So let's go. So let's put some gas in it. So I run, this is a 2-stroke. I run 50 to 1 mixture, and that does good enough. So yeah, let's dump it in here. And I use this still oil in the white bottle, by the way. Make sure the fuel is on. And there we go. Gassed up. Fill cap back on, and see if this thing runs after all the work I've done to it. Sure hope so, you know. Get our headphones on because it's loud. Okay, on. So I'm at my neighbor's house because he never cuts his grass. I'm gonna mow it for him, so let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna do the rest in the hyperlapse and then I'll tell you guys how it did. Okay, well, we finished mowing the lawn with the 1979 Lawn Boy, and did a pretty good job in my opinion. The stripes look pretty decent. It wasn't running at full RPM, at least to my knowledge, even though this thing was at max, because I'm pretty sure the little spring on the governor came unwrapped, so we'll have to wrap it around there off camera. But anyway, I would call that a success. So I'd call that a success on replacing the seal. So if you like this kind of video, let me know in the comments if you liked it, and leave a like and subscribe. So thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.